Good afternoon, YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting on a Fan. And did you notice I said good afternoon? Do you know why? Daylight. Tons and tons, well actually it's after 2 p.m. so there's not tons and tons of daylight anymore, at least in my part of the world, but right now the time is approximately 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and the date is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. The moon is waning in Cancer and the sun is transiting in Libra. It is, for those of you who are new to my YouTube channel, it is quite rare that I have the opportunity to do videos during the day, because a lot of times I have other things going on during the day, and of course so does Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos. But today I've already done 2 videos during daylight hours. This is the 3rd. There will be one more after this one. So with that being said, get ready for close-ups, because I am going to do the October 2021 entry of Llewellyn's 2021 Tarot Calendar. And I'm going to ask the question, did you already purchase your copy of the Llewellyn's 2022 Tarot Calendar? I did, and I was so happy to receive it after I returned from #Philadelphia Vacation 2021. So, here is this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover, which is not as bright red as it used to be. It's kind of faded a little bit, but it's still this beautiful, rich red. And of course, this is the back cover design. And now I'm going to go to October 2021. By the way, no spreads, so I will not be casting the cards. Okay, so this is October 2021. And I will be talking about the card that is featured from the Darkwood Tarot, and I'll be reading the other articles. So, first we have the 7 of Swords from the Darkwood Tarot. Traditionally, the 7 of Swords shows someone stealing something, usually 7 swords, actually 5 swords, because they cannot carry the 2 that are left behind, and trying to make a getaway with the focus on the theft. This version doesn't imply theft, but instead depicts a dangerous escape that may or may not be successful. Now, by the way, the Darkwood Tarot features a character more commonly known as Little Red Riding Hood, because you can see the Red Riding Hood. And there's the big bad wolf in the background. Now, I'd like to think that most people know that all wolves are not bad. But, you know, people. Okay. So, I'm not going to say too much more about the 7 of Swords, but I will say this. Sometimes the theft is not literal. Sometimes it's metaphorical. Maybe you feel that somebody stole an opportunity from you because they died. Or maybe you feel that somebody stole your faith in humanity from you. Or maybe somebody stole your trust in men, or your trust in women for that matter. So it's not always about a literal theft, like somebody stealing away somebody's promotion, or their car, or their home, or their piece of jewelry. Sometimes it's a metaphorical theft, or rather a figurative theft. Getting the most from negative cards. It's never fun to get cards that feel negative. A tarot deck wouldn't be as useful if it had only happy cards. If your problem doesn't show up in a reading, how can you hope to solve it? Challenging things happen to you all the time, and you handle them, gaining wisdom and experience along the way. If you get a card that feels negative, don't ignore and don't try to spin it. Instead, search the card for information and use that information to make a plan. For example, in this card there are 2 sets of eyes watching her. Somebody knows what she's planning. She is barefoot, showing that she must move as quietly as possible, even if it's painful or difficult, and this terrain does not look easy. There are things on the ground that could easily cut her feet. And I just saw the second pair of eyes. There's a pair of eyes from the big bad wolf, and there's a pair of eyes in the animal in the tree. Did you want to say something, Drake? Okay. So she is barefoot, showing that she must move as quietly as possible, even if it's painful or difficult. She is off the path and moving into the woods, making her more difficult to follow. The advice: be alert, be quiet, and stay in the shadows. So I'm going to add a little bit to this. I'm not going to add too much to this, but one thing that I often tell my clients is that I do not look at cards as positive or negative. I mean, granted, which is ironic because when I did my walkthrough of the Tarot for Kids by Teresa Reed and Haley Whitman, one of the things that I talked about was one of my personal favorite tarot cards, which is the Six of Cups. So there are tarot cards that can automatically be good, quote-unquote good, or quote-unquote bad. But for the longest time now, and I'm going to say for at least 10 years now, I look at cards, and specifically tarot cards, as this card is neither good nor bad. This card is, and the question I ask myself is this card empowering the client, or is this card disempowering the client? And since I no longer only give readings with tarot, I look at oracle cards the same way. I look at runes the same way. I look at clairvoyant images the same way. I look at crystals the same way. I look at every divination tool that I use as, is this empowering the client, or is this disempowering the client? This is what works for me, and this is what works for my clients. What you do in your professional divination practice may be different. It may be more traditional, and it may be, especially if you use tarot, it's like automatically the Sun is a good card, and the Three of Swords is a bad card, or the Tower is a bad card, and the Nine of Cups is a good card. But I don't look at any divination system as this is automatically good or this is automatically bad. Now more than ever, it is this empowering the client, or is this disempowering the client? So again, in the case of tarot, I would look at the surrounding cards and I would pay attention with my intuition. Of course, I cannot overemphasize the importance that you in YouTubeLand must always follow and pay attention to and heed the intuitive guidance and divine leading that you are receiving. Even if it contradicts mine, even if it contradicts anybody else's, it is ultimately your intuition and intuitive guidance that must be heeded and must be followed and must be considered above everyone else's. The symbol, the red hood and white dress. Her shredded white dress symbolizes lost innocence, while her red cloak represents passion. Whatever she has done, it has cost her a great deal and could cost more before it's over. So, where are you? Oh, pardon me, as a spirit comes upon me. Let me try that again. So where are you having a challenge that looks like innocence versus passion? Or said another way, purity versus passion? Or is it passion versus something else? Perhaps, for example, passion versus practicality. Who are you? I love this. I can already tell I'm going to love this article. So one way we determine which way to interpret a card is by identifying with a character on the card. We are all human, supposedly, making mistakes and not always being our best selves. Keep that in mind when you identify with a specific character. In this card, most would identify with the woman, the potential victim, not the villain. Make sure you are not the wolf in this situation. If you get a card that doesn't make sense, try identifying with a different character and see if that puts things in better perspective. I'm going to say that again. If you get a card that doesn't make sense, try identifying with a different character and see if that puts things in better perspective. So let's say, for the sake of argument, I'm going to put myself in the position of the maiden wearing the white dress and the red hood. I feel like I'm under attack. I feel like I need to escape. I feel like I'm too vulnerable. I'm too exposed. What if I put myself in the perspective of the tree? I'm still, I'm quiet, I'm stable. I need to do nothing other than live and breathe. What if I'm putting myself in the perspective of the animal that's in the tree? I'm mysterious. My intentions are not clear. And what if I put myself in the position of the big bad wolf, or in the perspective of the big bad wolf? And I'm calling it the big bad wolf because that's the traditional fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood, number one. And number two, it looks very ominous in this image. It's a black wolf with red eyes. So it has that cast, if you will, of not very nice, a predator, harmful, even demonic. So if I was looking from the perspective of this big bad wolf, what would be my perspective? Ooh, she looks tasty. I'm gonna eat her up good. Yum, yum, yum. Yum, yum, yum. But I could also look at her from another perspective, like, she's taking away my master's treasure. I must get it back. What she did was not nice, and I must have justice for my master. There are a lot of ways to look at a card. There are a lot of ways to identify with a perspective. YouTube, as always, thank you so much for honoring who I am and what I do. And I want to give a huge, huge, huge thank you to Llewellyn Publications, not only for bringing the Llewellyn Tarot Wall Calendars to life, but for publishing yet another one. And of course, I must thank the incomparable Barbara Moore for what she writes, how she writes, and how beautiful and wise and illuminating her writings are. And of course, thank you to all of you in YouTubeLand who have purchased this tarot calendar, either for yourselves or others or both. Thank you for spreading the word online and off. Thank you so much for realizing the importance of a tarot-themed annual. And of course, thank you to all of you who have been pre-ordering them when they were not yet published. And thank you to those of you who purchased them after they were published. And remember, this became available as of July 2020, where did you go? Where did you go? I do not see you offhand. Oh yes, I found it. And of course I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos do a close-up of the cover of Llewellyn's 2022 Tarot Calendar, which was published in July of 2021. So this was published, pardon me, a little more than 2 months ago. So you can buy it right now. I, of course, recommend buying it directly from Llewellyn simply because when you buy things directly from a small business and an independent publisher, you receive a lot of perks that you would not necessarily receive from something like, let's say, I don't know, a big website that's named after a jungle in South America. You know the one I mean. But seriously, I cannot over-recommend buying this calendar because, as Llewellyn Publications has proven, the more people that buy these calendars, the longer they will publish them. And I want to tell you, it makes me especially happy that they have published yet another calendar. It makes me very happy, and I cannot thank them enough. And of course, to all of you in YouTube land, thank you for all the likes, for all the comments, for all the shares, especially to social media platforms that I do not use anymore, like Facebook, or have never used, like Reddit. And thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. And of course, thank you to all of you who have already scheduled your sessions. Thank you to all of you who have already had your sessions. Thank you to those of you who have scheduled your sessions that have yet to take place. And thank you to those of you who are about to schedule your sessions probably after you finish watching this video. And as always, thank you to those of you who have bought me a coffee. Have a beautiful day, have a wonderful evening, have an amazing week, have an empowering weekend, and stay tuned for the next video.